The voice of Interstate Batteries High Limit Racing, Chase Raudman, joining us here on the West Coast Dirt Report. And Chase, it's a busy stretch for you guys. The West Coast swing really kind of dictates a lot in the points chase as the hunt for the championship is on, and you guys have had a phenomenal chase for the championship. Do you enjoy the West Coast swing getting back home and really seeing kind of the chaos that these California tracks create?
Oh yeah, always love getting back here. Obviously, I'm from this area, so I'm very familiar with pretty much all the tracks that we race out here. But yeah, like you said, a lot of chaos going on right now. Don't really know. I mean, that's kind of what a lot of us were talking about, kind of internally at High Limit, was like, who is going to have the best West Coast swing? Like, who's going to be good every single night? Because if you look at the numbers of a lot of guys that are up there in the top, 6 or 8 in points, nobody's really been super consistent over the last couple of years out here in this part of the country. Of course, Rico's been super good at your guys' track there at Skagit, but last year at Gold Cup, he was 15th on a split field prelim night. He was, I can't remember where he ran at on the finale of the Gold Cup, but he didn't make the show and then needed a provisional at Placerville. And of course, we know the storyline with Reitzel and Sunshine not even being at these races last year. Gio with his new team has been pretty solid these first couple of races, but um, yeah, just a lot of unknowns, and that's what I love about the West Coast swing so much. It's all small tracks. That's also exciting, and it's just who knows what's going to happen, right? Right, so I was like, I think a 61 point lead over second and third, and that could change obviously by the time we leave Skagit next week. So I think Rico was like 70 points behind last year, and then he was leading the points after Skagit. So a lot can happen. And now it even is ramped up even more with the Gold Cup being a points race, which is huge with going to be a 50 car field there. So, and a special format. So, yeah, who knows what to expect, but we're looking forward to seeing how it all turns out.
What has surprised you more on the West Coast swing here? Back to back years of Rico kind of struggling on the West Coast at his home tracks, or Aaron Reitzel being so fast after not being at the West Coast for a handful of years?
I would say the Rico part, right? I mean, obviously a two-time Gold Cup champion, and he was always a threat going there, 8 years ago, 8 or 10 years ago. And now I just, he was decent in 24. I think he was second on the prelim and second on the finale, but I don't know what happened last year. Last year Gold Cup wasn't good, Placerville wasn't good, and then obviously figured it out at Skagit. But I think that's more surprising just because we know that Rico's ran these tracks so many times. He's got so many laps there. He's won at pretty much every track out here. But Santa Maria didn't go well. Got into a wreck there when I can't remember who it was got upside down. Corey, I think, got upside down at Santa Maria. Rico got in that wreck, and then what was it? Tulare, he got upside down there in a wreck with Danny Sams. And then at Placerville, I mean, sure he ran top 10, but he almost wrecked in the heat race, and Thorson got involved there, and Rico was barely able to keep the car driving, and then ended up ninth. Fell back a couple spots in the feature. So I think, you know, I really do think Gold Cup and Skagit, depending on how those 6 races go, that could certainly decide this championship. Rico, he was solid at Dirt Cup right earlier this year. Wasn't spectacular. I don't think he won any of the races, but I think he was up there in the top 10 every night. But the track is usually different for Dirt Cup versus Skagit Nationals, and so I feel like that'll play in his hand a little bit. But I think both things are surprising. Reitzel, I mean, what, first, third, and I think 13th at Placerville, got into a wreck in the heat race. But both things are surprising, but to me, the Rico part's a little bit more surprising, knowing how many laps he does have in this area.
What do you think about, as you go into this offseason, the high limit points deal is a little bit different with the rolling point average with the franchise system to you guys. Do you think that kind of adds pressure to the teams more than usual because of the amount of money that's on the line with this franchise system each year?
No, I think so. I mean, that's obviously a big deal with the series. You mean the jump from one position to the next is monumental, and not just from one year to the next, but I mean when you look down the line to 28 and 29, just picking up even one position in the championship is enormous, and losing a spot, losing the top franchise spot or the top high roller club card, I guess is how we're describing it now. It would be just a huge hit financially. I mean, it's a lot of money to be the second highest card holder, but man, to have what I think it's 600 or 625 and 29 money that we've never seen before in this sport, it is a huge deal. So I think that, Rico's sitting third in points right now. Obviously, that's not what that team and that's not what Tony Stewart was hoping to see going into this year. And like I said, I think that they still have a great shot to win it, especially if they have a weekend like they did last year up at Skagit, and hopefully they can get things better at Gold Cup. But yeah, I mean, it is huge, and that's why you see Spire and Chase Briscoe and rumors of other teams trying to get into the series next year, and Vermeer trying to get into the top eight with Kerry Madsen. There's just so much money up for grabs with the High Roller Club membership that every position and points for every single year is huge. It's not like okay, I had a bad year, I ran ninth in points. It's not a big deal. No, that affects you next year too. So it's definitely a big deal, and it keeps it. It's kind of like an underlining storyline that takes place every single year. That maybe it's not at the forefront of everybody's minds, but when it comes to the offseason and you see the positions change, it's definitely a pretty big deal, I think.
Before we let you go, what are you looking for the next 2 weekends? Obviously, two of the bigger weekends of the year for Interstate Batteries High Limit Racing with Gold Cup and then Skagit Nationals, back-to-back six-figure paying weekends.
Oh yeah, obviously it's two of the biggest races of the year, and they just so happen to be within 7 days of each other. So Gold Cup, I think that it's completely wide open right now. There's no one that, in my opinion, is above the rest of the field when it comes to that race. Obviously Reitzel's been fast; he's the point leader, but he hasn't been to Silver Dollar since 2019. He only went there one time, ran 11th with the Outlaws. So the unknowns of Reitzel. But then the other side of it is like I said, there's not one guy that really sticks out for the Gold Cup Race of Champions as he's the favorite. No Corey Day. The last time that somebody won the Gold Cup that is in the field for this upcoming weekend is Rico, and that was 2018. But after that, it was Darren Pittman. He ain't going to be there. Jacob Allen's not going to be there. Logan Short's not going to be there. And of course, Corey Day's won the last three in a row. So that is very exciting to me, not knowing who is going to be, the front runner. Of course, Landon Brooks has been just spectacular here the last two races. I mean, who would have thought that he, McFadden, and Holmes would be the only three guys in the top 10 for the first three West Coast races? Definitely not me. So maybe a Landon Brooks could be a guy that's up there challenging for the Gold Cup. I think McFadden, to me, is my favorite going into that weekend. That team has been really solid. I think they got 11 races in a row. They've been ninth or better. And then, of course, you go up to Skagit. You've got Trey Starks up there. You've got, Justin Youngquist and Jason Sowald and Robbie Price and Colton Heath and all these other guys that are up there. Levi Hillier, I'm interested to see what he'll do going back to home turf after running all these races down here. So just a lot of unknowns with the points and with who's going to win these races. It's just an exciting time in the season to be racing for this much money. And then, of course, right after Skagit, heading out for a $58,000 to win race at the Tuscarora 50. So, it just feels like every weekend coming up for the rest of the year is a big race, a high paying race, or a big event with High Limit Racing, and it's exciting to be a part of. So, and then Blake, we'll see you at Kokomo for the midweek series finale. It'll be on FS1. So, a lot to look forward to, and the Gold Cup this weekend, my favorite event on the calendar. It's the event where I first ever saw the World of Outlaws, and so looking forward to seeing who could win that one. Maybe we'll see a new six-figure payday winner.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's an exciting time for Interstate Batteries High Limit Racing. The next month is going to be huge. And Chase, we're looking forward to having you up here at Skagit for Skagit Nationals. And as always, you can watch every Interstate Batteries High Limit Racing live on Flow Racing.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me on here, and Blake, we'll see you in about a week.